What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another week of Wing It Garage. Going to try a bit of a different format this week. Try something different. Yeah, let us know if you like it. But yeah, obviously, goal this week was to get a bit of work done, get a bit of carbon done. But unfortunately, weather hasn't really been too kind to us. Been a bit too cold to be trying to do any of that, especially for our first layup. We want to, try and get it a bit warmer. And I've been pretty under the weather, so haven't been doing a whole lot. But we did get a bit of work done around our property. I'll chuck in a little bit of a clip of that. Won't bore you too much. You guys aren't coming here to watch me play around on excavators and that. So yeah, probably 5 minutes or so. And you can skip forwards if you want. Other than that, we have been getting the rear brakes on the 34 sorted, so I'll show you a bit of that. We've just modified the knuckles to actually take a Willwood caliper. I'll show you that. We've also got the front brakes off. That there, we're going to be trying a new tyre combo, so I'll leave it at that, but we'll take you guys with us, so stay tuned. Cheers, bye. Also, hopefully, fifth or sixth time's a charm. Hopefully the lights aren't flickering. So fingers crossed. What's going on? Something a bit different this week. Meant to be doing Jimmy's car, but I just had an offer of getting an excavator and doing some work. So we actually have a creek that runs through our place, which has been pretty neglected over the past couple of years. It's all built up here and just chockers with grass and silt and dirt and everything, so you can see kind of how deep it is, and then everything's just grown up. So something a little bit different. Won't probably spend too much time on the videos, but start cleaning this up, make it a bit deeper. We've got a board over there. We're just going to try and fill in a bit of a hole that's over there. So let's roll on, and I promise there will be some carbon in this video. Getting there. Just cleaning up a little bit with the rake so we can get to some stuff. How's this? This creek hasn't seen water in a couple of months. A little yabby. So I'm guessing we might actually get some yabbies in this little creek. There's that. That's cool.
we'll have to keep an eye out. Hopefully we don't disturb too many, but he's just living in that little weir there. Might try and move him somewhere else. Wow, I did not expect this much done this quickly. This has been awesome. I've never seen the creek this clear. I didn't even know there was concrete at the base here. How could this go wrong? Yoo-hoo. Always the way. Start the fire up. It's heading away from you. Move around. Smoke start coming straight at you. I'm going to take out this kind of corner here. Try and blend it in. Heaps nice and cleaner. Just chuck all the dirt just back here. Start filling this up. Let's go. So I'd say that's been a pretty productive morning. We've cleared that, cleared this all up. It used to be only 100 odd mil wide in some points. Clean that up, we'll give it a bit of a rake, flatten out all that. We brought that up so we can bring that level up a bit. That'll be nice. It won't get as boggy during winter when the water does come through. Yippee, getting there. Now we got to do this side. Let's see, it used to be the same, way deeper. That's what we started with this morning. Well, that's probably enough of the outside updates. Turns out winter has finally arrived. It has been raining all morning, but one nice part is it seems like all the work we've done is working. We have kind of finished the retaining wall. Got to buy some more bits and pieces, but the big part of having the creek done, I think, has paid off. Starting to get a bit of water coming through here, and it is flowing like a dream. So happy, so happy. Look at that. It's the little things in life, but anyway, I'll try and limit to about 5 minutes of this, and we'll hopefully roll in with some carbon. So yeah. Back in the garage tonight. Pretty average weather outside, rainy, windy. Not much to do out there anyway, so thought we'd get back on with my car while Jimmy's car's out. Yes, there will be some carbon coming up soon. Just trying to button up a few bits and pieces. So my car, we've obviously been working on the rear knuckles, changing the brake setup. Obviously at round one we had massive brake fade on the rear, so we've actually modified the knuckles. We've put basically a new piece of steel in here, re-drilled it to take our new wheelwoods. So that's all been where basically the accostal gear came through. We sectioned it out, made this steel plate, put our rotor on, took all our measurements, got it all pretty dialed, and they fit really nicely. So now it's just onto fitting it all up to the car. Doesn't take too long. We've just done the driver's side, now we'll get onto the passenger side. Here we go. Just had a thought, should probably kind of run you guys through a bit of this. Might be interesting to some people. So these actually are accostal knuckles, made locally here in Adelaide by a bloke by the name of Stewie Bryant. What we liked about them was the range of adjustability. So he does the knuckles, all the control arms, so upper, lower control arms, traction arms, even the rear toe link. It's all made, designed by him. We had some drums, the front stuff at the beginning, we've worked through that. We've actually made a new knuckle, but what I like is the fact of, if you have a look here, we've got different hole locations. Now, these bolts are where everything was when I took it apart to do the brakes. But if you have a look, my upper arm is in a lower position, whereas my lower control arm is in a mid position. Now, what this has been able to do for us, being that we can adjust it, is it means that we can actually change our camber gain. So by essentially, if we leave this in the middle, if we raise the upper control arm point high, we'll end up with more camber gain through bump. So what we're trying to do at the moment is this setup here, I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was giving me, I think it was about a degree per 20 odd mil of bump travel. Like I said, I can't quite remember, but it was giving me the camber gain that we wanted through bump. So if we wanted to get more camber gain, we could actually raise this up a hole, and then we might get 1.5 degrees, for example, if that's what we want. So for me, this was just a nice starting point. It's what felt right. It's what seems to be working, but we do plan on changing it and playing around with it. Obviously, these traction arms on the Nissans, they actually allow, when you've got the knuckle in here like this, they actually allow you to lay it back. And what I've found that does is that then will move where our toe arm point is. So this here is a massive way of adjusting also our bump steer. So we've obviously had it all together. It's all been wheel aligned. I was all happy with it. So we've just taken it out to do the brakes. So we've left everything tight where it is, just zip tied all of our shims and spacers in. But if we come around to doing the wheel alignment on this, I might try and get a bit of a video and show you guys what it actually changes. It's amazing how a turn on that makes a massive difference for what our bump steer can do, and even moving this a position makes a fair difference. So we've got our toe in our lowest point, midpoint for our lower control arm, lowest point on there. We could also, if we wanted to, essentially make it a drop knuckle. You can move this down again, and that will give you, it'll adjust your roll centers, being that it will adjust your arm ratios again. But once again, that then everything changes multiple things. It's very hard to adjust one thing without adjusting 2 or 3. So you can change your roll center height by moving this down, but we'll then change our camber gain. So it's all a bit of a compromise at times, but it's definitely a whole lot better than it was when we were mucking around with the stock stuff. So yeah, I'll try and chuck a link in for the Acostal gear. He does heaps of R chassis, S chassis stuff. He's getting into the Zs. He's actually got a really nice billet knuckle that he's been working on. Yeah, and the front, like I said, we've got the R chassis front, the original stuff that he was doing. We've changed that design a little bit. It worked really well for the drifters, but in a circuit environment, it just didn't quite have the strength under big braking loads that obviously drifting doesn't generally seem to see, it would appear. So anyway, stick with it. Alright, here we go. So we've been running a 250 640 front slick on the Skyline. One of our limiting factors on our tyre clearance has actually been the stock Nissan J-arm. So as you can see here, we've actually kind of clearanced it a bit, just so we had the room, but just been struggling with a bit of balance, I guess. So we run a 300mm rear with the 250 front. It's quite a size difference. So we've actually just gone up to a 280, which is going to be a bit wider, but the other problem is that it is going up to a 650. So it's about a 10mm larger overall rolling diameter, which in turn will bring us about 5mm closer up in the J-arm, and because it's no longer got that bit of stretch that we had before, it is going to be running quite close into there. So next step's just going to be fit it up, see how it fits. We do, being with these Acoustal knuckles, we do actually have some adjustment. So where the knuckle actually fits into the J-arm, we can actually space that up, and spacing that up, what that'll do is that'll end up giving us a bit more room, but we'll once again kind of play around with the camber curve that we've got in the car, and it will probably that'll actually end up lowering our roll center a bit. So it's just going to change a couple of things, but we'll just have to suck it and see how we go. So what do we reckon? Is it going to fit? Not even close. Let's throw a spacer on. See if we can get it to come close to fitting. Always the way. We're already hitting on the washer that I've got up on the top of the J-arm. That can be cleaned up or trimmed down, but we'll just try and get it close to see what it's going to look like. Pretty much exactly what I expected. With that extra width, we've got more room than I was expecting, but if we trim that washer down, we might be okay. I don't know if you guys can see it, but currently it's just that washer hitting, which is just a shim. That was mainly to stop this from moving forwards and back. We might actually be all good. There we go. And just remember, that's with the 5mm spacer. We definitely don't have clearance. What I reckon we're going to do is we'll take out our limiting strap there. We'll take the shock off, take the calipers off and the rotors off, and then I'll be able to take this apart and space it up. What I might do is, like I was talking about on the rear, when you start changing the relationship of your upper and lower arms, you'll actually change your camber gains. So just for something interesting, I might block this up at its height here, and we'll check the camber and we'll move it up, say, I think we'll probably have about 60mm we can move it up, so we might move it up just 50mm. And then we'll see what the camber is, and it'll be interesting to see once we put this spacer in what it actually changes to and what the extra gain we have is. I'm having some real GoPro issues lately. I'm not too sure what's going on, but just one little side note. I love these little 12 compartment organisers. As soon as I start tearing a car like the Skyline down, it's pretty much the only car I really use it on, start filling it up. So I just use all the compartments in order,
And that means then when I put the car back together, normally you go back the opposite way. And I just keep little things, like that's a clutch alignment tool. Just handy to have. Stuff like that, especially that's just the tear down tub for the car. So every time it tears down, whether I'm taking the front splitter off, bolts will go in, everything like that. Handy just to, if you're at the track or if you're even working at home, wherever you are, it keeps it all organized. And if you start and do it in your own order, doesn't matter what order it is, you know where you're going and if you miss something. All right, so at the moment we're at 2.2 degrees. I don't know if you guys can see that, it might be in the shadows. And just for the sake of a measurement, from the shock mounting bolt up to the tower is 470 mil. So what I'll do is I'll just jack it up a bit. We'll go to, yep, we're at 3.2 degrees. So we've just had a full 1 degree change. How far have we come up? We've come up to 430. So my maths, 7654. So 40 mil at the shock there, which you got to take into account that that is shock travel, not wheel travel. We've gained a degree. The shock ratio to the wheel ratio is, because basically wheel face, wheel stud, that's about as close as you're going to get to actual wheel motion ratio. But I think from memory it was about 60 mil of wheel travel. It was giving me about 1 degree of camber gain. So we'll put this shim in and see what we go to. Nice and simple change. As you would have seen, we chuck a shim under here. That basically raises the whole J-arm up. One thing it will do now is it will actually change our ride height. So once I do this to both front sides, we'll probably end up giving it another wheel alignment, just because we normally do anyway. But I'll probably also need to check corner weights. So I'll when we get around to that, I'll take you guys along too. But so for interest's sake, we're back at kind of droop. Set our camber gauge. Let's see what that comes up as. So we're at 1.6. You guys can see that. Now, because it's changed our ride height, it will also change this measurement. So we are at 455. So what we might do, we'll just go up. So we're at 1.6. Now we're at 2.6, so we've gained our extra degree like we did before. I think last time we came up was at 40 mil. Now we're at 24, 25. So this time we've only come up 30 mil, and we've got our 1 degree.
So we're actually getting that 1 degree a whole lot earlier, because what's happening is it ends up putting the top arm in more of an arc. So it means that basically as it's coming up, it's also going in towards the chassis. So pretty average kind of explanation, but if it's something you guys are interested in, let me know, and I could even sit down at the computer and do a bit of a simulation, a bit of a model. I'm sure there's plenty of other stuff out there for it, but yeah, 2.6 degrees in less travel. So we will get more camber gain. What that might mean for me is I may end up setting the car up with a bit less static camber. So as we set it up, rolling out onto the truck, we might have a bit less camber, because we know as everything compresses, we are going to get that camber gain. But yeah, we'll chuck the rotor back on, and we'll chuck the wheel back on and see if we've got that clearance that we need now, see if we can get away with it. Well, there you have it. No spacer on there, all bolted down tight, and we have bucket loads of room. One thing I do know is these spacers are, I'm trying to do stuff one hand, it's harder than it looks. Those spacers are actually 15 mil. So what that means I could do, knowing that we've gone from a 640 tyre to a 650 tyre, I know that technically we've only grown on the radius 5 mil. We have obviously also gone wider. That's partially where it's all kind of binding up, but to try and remove some of that camber gain that we've got, I could actually machine down these spacers and maybe even make like an in-between, a 7.5 mil. So we know that we've got the extra 5 mil on the radius that we need with the larger tyre, and we've got a bit more on the actual width, but we'll go back to kind of an in-between camber gain that we're getting now. So who knows, might be something to look into. I'll have a chat with a couple of the guys who know a bit more than I do. These are also scrubbed tyres, so Miles has run these for I think 2 rounds or a round in a practice, so it probably doesn't have quite the shoulder that it would normally have on it. But yeah, we'll see if we can chat to some guys in the know about whether it's going to be an acceptable kind of number or not, and go from there. One thing that I've fought with this car for a little while, that's what I'm looking at the moment, is a bit of front end bind. So in that one of the last videos you would have seen, when we went to droop the car back out, it didn't droop out fully. It's just been something that it's fine when the shocks are in. Obviously everything will compress, everything will droop because the shock's forcing it to, but it's not ideal. So just trying to have a bit of a look through. The one thing that nearly everything on this has a Heim joint or a Rose joint, etc. But the one spot that doesn't is the top of this J-arm, where it's just a big rubber bush. I've had to play around with a couple of different ways of setting it up, but I think what I'm going to try and do is just move it over. I think where before I've had a wash, like had this side hard up against the upper control arm here, and I've had a washer on this side, just because the way the J-arm works is there's just a steel sleeve that runs right through, then with this rubber bushing over the top. And I'm wondering if this bushing's binding on the actual body here. There are some witness marks on the inside here where it's a bit shiny,
which would tend to say that it's been rubbing against it. So we're just going to try something a bit different. I'll changing that upper controller, or changing that spacer in the J-arm will mean that it's going to need a wheel alignment anyway. So I'm not too fussed about what we do to the wheel alignment currently. I'd just like to see if we can, each time we have it apart, make an improvement, get something a bit better. My only concern doing that, I am actually able to move that spacer inside the bush. Something we might need to keep thinking about. See if there's something better we can do or try. Crisis averted. I reckon I've actually worked out what we might do. So you can buy these things called thrust washers, and what they are is they actually look exactly like that. They look like two washers, but they've actually got a ball bearing race in between them. So the design is that they can actually move like that while being clamped together. And I've used them for bits and pieces in the past. It's very similar to something like you might see on the top of a McPherson strut. So obviously the strut can still rotate while everything's stationary in the car. Caught up Gardner bearings, they're not far from us, from where I head to a fair bit, and they sell one with a 12mm internal diameter, a 28mm external diameter, and they're 11mm deep. So what that'll do is I'll actually be able to put one of those on each face of this, which will then space us into the middle. What it will mean though is I'll probably end up having to chuck these in the lathe and just take a little bit off, which is fine. Bring that overall diameter down, and then we'll have it actually bearing. So it'll be kind of similar to a spherical bearing, rod end, whatever, where there shouldn't actually be any load on it. So that'll be interesting to see. I'll go pick those up next week, so there won't be any more on that for this video, but hopefully in a fortnight I'll have them in my hand. Actually, well, this is something I didn't think I'd see happening this week. If you've hung around this long, cheers. I did say that I'd be trying to get some carbon done. I didn't think it'd be happening. We won't get anything made, but hey, we've got the carbon out. So just starting to kind of lay everything out, get everything ready, start working out what we're doing. Normally I'll use that bit of glass just to lay up fiberglass pieces that I've done in the past, but unfortunately the door car's a bit too big to lay it on there. So I'm actually going to try just doing it on some stainless sheet. It's all polished up. So we'll wax it and get on with it from there. So hopefully we can start making something on that. But I guess a bit of what we're using. So this here is from Admired Composites. They were really helpful, not knowing what I'm doing, just kind of giving me some advice on what to use, what will work well, and they've kind of offered a fair bit of advice for different bits and pieces. So stuck with them up in Queensland. So been pretty good. So this is actually a set weave. So if you get a normal carbon cloth, it will like pull and distort, but this here, it's actually got this stitching which holds it together really well, which like normally, from what I understand, like that would stretch and clump pushing it. So should be nice to work with. From what I gather, good for doing flat stuff. I think it does make it a bit trickier when you start trying to get into your like compound curves. So we might end up with a roll of just normal stuff as well down the track. I'm guessing it'll probably act more like the double bias fiberglass. Another thing that we're trying that's a bit different to what I see a lot of people use. This is actually a combination like flow mesh and peel ply. So they recommended it and said it was pretty good, so we'll give it a go. But hopefully next week hopefully next week we'll get some time. I'll show you a bit of what we do. A guy that I follow a fair bit and have watched a lot of his videos is AJ Hartman. He does some amazing composite stuff, does some really good detailed videos. So a lot of what I'll be doing will be just replicating what he's shown and what he's said, and see how it goes. But anyway, cheers for watching. It's been a long one, this one. Hopefully it hasn't bored you, but hopefully the lights are fixed, so that's a win. Anyway, we'll catch you in a fortnight. Cheers, bye.